Welcome back, everybody, to another video here with Kyle Chris. Today we're going to be going over the state of green so far in set 20. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as always. Thank you guys for all the support. I do appreciate everything on our journey to 2,000 subs. So the green, green right now in Dragon Ball is it's basically a complementary color, which is actually kind of interesting. When I first started in Dragon Ball, I think it was set 8. I think it was sometime in set 8. Blue was sort of considered the complementary color. Blue was a color that was really bad in a lot of people's eyes. Yellow was kind of the best color in the game. Red, of course. Green has never been the best color since I've started playing. And I say that to say that it's just very interesting how we've kind of gone through so many cycles of formats, and green has never really found a place to be on top. And there's a lot of reasons as to why that is. Maybe they find it hard to balance. Maybe they just can't come up with any good strategies for green that don't feel overpowering. But I think I wish green would get some form of time to shine, just because it seems that every other it seems like they're printing the cards for them to not be very utilized in competitive play. Now, one of the big things that happens, obviously, with every new set is we generally get some form of ban list. And although green had no bans, green is still probably considered the worst color in the game. It is what it is. The data's there. Green really hasn't done much in a very long time, right? As much fun as some of the archetypes are, because there are some very cool archetypes in green, it's just not a very good color, unfortunately. Now, there is some little beams of hope that do come out of green, I would say, that are pretty good. The best one being Cooler. Cooler has been the best green deck for a while now. And although it is the best green deck, again, we don't see a ton of green just because red is so popular and green loses really hard to most red matchups. So, but Cooler is a good deck. It's a very good green deck. It can catch a lot of decks off guard, even meta decks, obviously. So Cooler has these two very powerful dash pack cards that came out to support the archetype in itself, both of which are incredibly good. Both of them are probably 4-ofs in the decks. Cooler Cruel Commander is a very powerful dual attacking unison, as well as King Cold being able to fill up your Z energy, as well as being a very powerful 20k blocker that can block twice, again, which is incredible. Now, there is another green deck, which was Cell. Cell won an online event. It topped a few in-person and online events, I believe. Not too many, probably can count on one hand. But this is an archetype that, with the banning of God Sealing, you would think would be incredibly strong. Being able to go into Perfect Force, rip your entire opponent's hand away, and then use Unspeakable Abomination to then rip the last 3 cards out of their hand. Very powerful archetype. Just for whatever reason, green has yet to solidify itself. I think a lot of it has to do with people who play green generally are not really playing green. I think they find it very boring. And it's kind of been this way, I would say, since probably where green sort of took a huge hit. It's probably around the time probably Realm of the Gods, I think, when the Universe 7 deck came out. And then obviously when Gogeta came out, a lot of the good top green decks like King Cold, they just became irrelevant just because you can't out combo, the 35 triple striker with field spells, right? So, but Cell is a deck that hasn't really gained too much support. It is really locked a lot of its stuff to androids, and you can play some generic stuff, but there is a better generic leader that did come out in the current set, which is the Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku leader, the Goku GT. I really like this leader. I think it is complete value. The worst part about this is that everything costs some form of energy, and green has very bad defense. So keeping that in mind, the deck archetype is very cool, right? You can search out, I think on the Unawakened side, you can search out any green Saiyan, which is crazy. You have access to the Fated Rival combination, which is very good for green. You have these really good, powerful Gokus here that you can play from your warp. This deck actually cycles and draws probably more than any other green deck in the game. So those are all very, very good positives. we'll see what the deck ends up doing. I think this deck can surprise a lot of people, and depending on what they're up, what they're actually up against, of course, that makes a huge difference. If you're playing against a deck that just has your opponent has no idea what you're doing, you can probably end up winning or having a better chance of winning those games, right? So the other green deck I think you could potentially look into is the Sun and Gohan starter deck. So the Super 17 deck we're not going to talk about too much, unfortunately. The deck is not very competitively viable. It's just unfortunately just not a very good deck, so we don't want to waste too much time on it. I do have a video about that deck if you want to look into the archetype, but it's just kind of it's just missing some stuff. Now this Gohan leader, which as I don't think this Gohan leader is fantastic, this deck does play a ton of value. And you can make it mostly a green deck, but you are able to play out all Universe 7 stuff, including these two powerful green cards here. You have Super Saiyan Son Goku to battle Universe 6. You basically play it for 1, and then it draws you a card. It's a 20k double strike. And if your opponent has no battle cards in play, it's a 25k double strike crit. You also can attack battle cards without barrier in active mode. So you also can attack your opponent's battle cards in active mode just to get rid of stuff. The Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta is whenever this card attacks and KOs a battle card, your opponent discards a card from their hand, and it's a 20k dual attacker. So again, you could be able to play a 20k dual attacker for 1. That's pretty good. So there's a lot of good Universe 7 cards in the archetype for Sun Gohan. You just kind of have to piece them together. I know people were trying to play with like Awakened Power. That's probably the route you would have to go, unfortunately, if you want to play it with the Secret Rare that's like a battle card. But this deck could be a weird sleeper for people if they're not careful, because a lot of the multicolor decks are not highly competitive. They're kind of in that middle ground because they're so locked to something that they have to do. But if they do that very well, someone kind of cracks the code for it, it could be a pretty competitively viable deck. Now, lastly, I have some cards that I think either cards that have come out or cards that haven't came out yet that you guys should look into getting for this next set. So this is kind of a very strange combination here, right? Cooler and the Brianna card, or the Brienne card. Both of these cards are from the champ set, or from the current flow of TPs. While Cell's Earth Destroying Kamehameha came out a long time ago. Also was reprinted not too long ago. So first with Cell's, if you do play green, I think this is a very powerful card to look into. It's a card that used to get a decent amount of play, but it's a 15k combo, and then you get to rip a card out of your opponent's hand of your choosing. I think it's a very powerful effect to have, especially in this day and age. If you can build a somewhat mildly hand destruction sort of green deck, and you tack this card in there, you're going to be able to keep your opponent's hand size down pretty small, but also just being able to defend out of big battle card attacks, because that's a big thing for green, is green does suffer from not having defense, and if you don't have the ability to negate a ton, being able to combo out of stuff while also making your opponent drop another card is pretty viable. We have Cooler Armed Force. I believe at the making of this video, I think this card's like 40 or 50 bucks. It's literally just getting shipped out. It's a barrier double striker that you can restand if you have a Z battle card magic cost of 2 or more in your battle area, but also when this card attacks, you either KO one of your opponent's battle cards, or they discard a card. This is a very good card. It's not it's limit 1 to playing, but it's not unique, and it has barriers. So if you can field multiple of these cards, this card can do a lot of damage, and we might be on the precipice of a green deck really coming out and being powerful. We will have to see. I think we're getting really, really close. Both of these cards here that are being printed are very powerful, and it's just going to take some form of leader to make this this archetype, or make whatever archetype for green, very, very tier 1 potential because of these two cards. The other one is the Elegant Fighter. So this, the bottom effect is for green universe 2 leaders, which currently we only have 1. It's not very playable. If we get a new one in the future, that part might be good, where you can send this card to the warp, and then this card plays out a 5-drop Rebrian, which the best one is it's a 30k triple striker that wipes the board ignoring barrier, and then also has a Deadly Defender effect on it as well. So being able to play that card off, that's very good. But the reason why you're going to play it in other decks is activate main for leaders green, play this card from your hand. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO it. So it's just a barrier. It's literally a removal for anything that just costs 2. That's very, very powerful as well. And also being a 5k combo, that's also very good too. So these are 2 cards that you are going to be looking at playing if you're going to be playing green. Like I said as well, just pick up Seltzer Destroying May. I think it can also be a good card too. So thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.